Jeffrey Laurenti is a senior fellow of the Century Foundation, and he is with us to discuss the ongoing turmoil. Thank you, Jeff, as always, for coming. We were just commenting as the story was playing that this really is a scary situation.
This is a total meltdown for Egypt. You now have the old order is attempting to reassert itself. The liberals and young people and secularists who had initially led the revolution against Mubarak finding themselves in the position of cheering the old regime coming back, thinking that they will somehow be able to recover and emerge on top themselves. And you have this huge, sullen half of Egypt's population, angry, sizzling, that we had tried democracy, and then when we won, they took it back. And where are the Americans now? And where is the West now?
Well, and speaking of that, we want to talk a lot about that. Part of the news in the news cycle today was the revelation that Qatar, as well as other countries in the Persian Gulf, have pledged $8 billion.
Well, wait, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates have pledged $8 billion.
Yes.
Qatar has cut off what was its $8 billion
Thank
subsidy.
You. You're absolutely
Qatar
right.
sided with the Muslim Brotherhood. They put their money, big money, on that horse, which has now stumbled and at least temporarily.
And they had already done that.
That's right. So they had put in $8 billion over the past year. So now they're pulling their money out because they don't want the military. Al Jazeera, which is Qatar owned and controlled, and on these issues, it sings to the party line of those who are paying for its tune. Al Jazeera has been championing the Muslim Brotherhood side, the Morsi side, and now is aghast at the military coup. So Qatar pulls out, the Saudis and the Emirates put the money in, almost exactly the same amount for the coming year, because in both cases, everyone was quite aware that the horse he was riding would fall and be shot dead, in effect, not literally.
Sure.
If the economy stumbled, and the economy has been on a steady downward spiral since the Mubarak ouster. So the Saudi money, which is big money, you know, $8 billion for presumably just a year. The U.S. does $1.5 billion, so we look like chump change by comparison for the moment. You know, that is basically just to hold the economy up at a minimum level. And now that you have this deep alienation, this deep polarization in Egyptian society, and the alienation of the Islamist tendencies of half of the population, Egypt goes into a profound crisis. I mean, we see in America a little bit of this kind of polarization in Washington politics of the past few years. But this is that to the 100th degree.
Yeah, and the ramifications are really, really huge. Let's talk about how it would seem, just if you're going by the dollars and cents, that the U.S. now has become a minor player in this. That's just with their, you know, measly $1.5 billion in aid, and also have been decidedly silent during this. So where does that put us? Because many of these players, we have strategic relationships with and interests in their position in the region.
Well, we do, and those are often our allies, those which are now at themselves each other's throats, the Saudis and the Emirati, as opposed to the Qataris and the Turks, by the way, who have also been supporting the Morsi government out of sympathy for a Muslim Brotherhood vision. We do not have the money to give as in the past. As you well know and have often reported, these issues of budget cuts, sequestration, all that, have left the administration with no free change to pass out. And moreover, the administration isn't interested. The Obama administration is not interested in handing out free change. The sad fact is that the Qatari money and the Saudi money, now that will succeed it, is basically going into maintaining food subsidies, so they don't have a tangible at the end of the day. This is a huge investment in conflict avoidance and minimal regime maintenance. At least the U.S. aid, such as it is, has been going to a large share into supporting the military, trying to keep it democratic, and a good deal into genuine projects of economic development. This huge investment of money is oil in the sand, as it were.
Well, of course, you know, the military and the new interim President Mansour has put forth this timeline promising an election as soon as possible, early next year for the election of parliament, soon, hopefully thereafter, for the election of a new president. But, you know, I guess the question is, what's to keep this cycle from just perpetuating, from going all over again, putting them back into square one? Because if they don't like the next democratically elected president, this could all happen again.
Well, this is precisely the heart of the problem for Egyptian democracy. That is, you can say you're hitting a reset button, but then you put all of the people who had been elected in jail, or you keep them under house arrest. President Morsi remains in confinement. That whole side of Egyptian society isn't going to play by these election games anymore because they've been shown to be a fraud for them. And how you manage to entice them back in is going to be extremely difficult. Presumably, the military is going to come to realize it's going to have to deal with Morsi and not simply put him in a jail cell. And if there's going to be a way out for Egypt, it's going to be through some kind of compromise that Morsi would not engage in before. He and his Islamist cohorts thought, we won the elections, we get to set the rules of the game. And it was because of their stubbornness and their intransigence that you had effectively rebellion by the liberals and by the secularists, and of course, waiting in the wings, the security forces of the old regime, ready to step forward when they found that they now had willing allies calling for their intervention. But this is a terrible precedent for Egyptian democracy, for the hopes for Arab Spring more generally.
Yeah, for the whole region, indeed. Jeff Laurenti, thank you as always. I'm sure we will talk about this again soon.
Don't doubt it.
Good to see you. And you are watching Arise America.